Okay, we're gonna hope that technology is working on my side today. Good morning. Lauren Golden here. I'm so excited because I am sharing something with you today that only a very small people are aware of. I have some slides, which is why I am streaming through StreamYard. So I'm going to hope that it's working. I see a comment. I'm going to spend just like 20 seconds making sure that the video is actually loading on these channels. Although it's probably not going to tell me, but I got a good morning from somebody. It's just stinking StreamYard. If you guys don't know, it doesn't show me your names. So I can't see who's talking to me, which is no fun. Okay, I can see it's working on Facebook, which is amazing. Good morning. And now I can see your names. We have Amanda's in the house. We have Jenna. We have Lauren. I'm so excited to see you guys on StreamYard. I wish I could show you. It says Facebook user. I'm like, that's so lame. I want to know who I'm talking to. Okay, let me make sure it's going. Yeah, it's going over on YouTube too. Yay, StreamYard, and yay, technology, and yay for having the courage to do new hard things. I had made a comment a while back that I was going to stream on both platforms to kind of kill two birds with one stone. And I have not used StreamYard in a very, very long time. And I've never used StreamYard with slides. So this is actually a really nice precursor to what we're going to talk about today, because I am sharing with you kind of what happens when we have an opportunity or when we want to create Facebook user Kendra here. That's amazing. When we want to create an opportunity for ourselves, because I think there's a misconception that all of the good things that come in our life are just going to show up in a package and be very clear. And in my experience, which I'll share with you some of those today, it's actually something that kind of gets excavated from a low point in my life. I talked to a couple of people as I was preparing for today, and as we've just been working on some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today as well. And I came up with a new framework that I'm actually going to walk you through, less as teaching, but more you're going to hear it through my stories. And I tried to make it as explicit in my slides as possible. So kind of pay attention to the chapters I'm going to take you through. And I talked to a handful of people. And what's really interesting is that looking back through their journey, it followed the exact same pattern. So I've kind of developed a new framework out of all of this, and definitely still waiting to disprove it. That's kind of what happens when you create something new. You're like, okay, I know this worked for me. It worked for me multiple times. Does this align with other people? And so far, it is in fact being proven. So with that being said, I'm super excited to have you guys be the very first people outside of my team that I'm kind of introducing all of this to. If you have questions, comments, concerns, support, all the things, drop it in the chat. And I'm going to hope that when I hit add to stream, it is in fact going to pull up my slides. So maybe one of you can let me know if that did in fact happen. Do you guys see a picture of me? I had literally 2 days since September where I did not have a sty in my eye, and thank God one of those days was the day that I had new pictures taken, because if you didn't notice, I cut 8 inches off of my hair. And so it felt very untimely to the spoiler alert. If you are going to have a personal brand and then you wildly change your hair, it will all of a sudden overnight feel like everything you have is outdated. So luckily we got a few new photos, which is really exciting. So I'm excited to introduce you guys. And I think I just clicked right there. I'm excited to introduce you guys me, but a new version of me. We are constantly transforming and reinventing ourselves, and that can be really difficult to do. And so that's actually kind of part of this framework that I've developed. And what I've realized is that it always starts with courage. In fact, it really just starts with one courageous step. So if you're here with me, and thank you guys who accepted StreamYard, because now I can see your names, which is amazing. So Sam and Sharon and Megan and Felicia, those of and Jessica, thank you guys for, I know it's annoying with the plugin, but it's so wonderful for me to see some familiar faces. Raise your hand or let me know in the chat if you can relate to this. If you have tried to do something new, or you've had something on your heart, or like me, maybe you were at a low point and you felt pulled in a direction or even called in a direction, and you were scared out of your mind. Like it was terrifying. You have this idea, you have this thing, and then all of a sudden, before you do anything, fear sets in. And it might be fear of what other people think. It might be fear of failure. It might even be fear of success, of holy moly, what if this thing that was placed upon me actually pans out? What then? All of these things are super valid. And so what I've realized is that all of our first steps start with courage. And a lot of you guys know my story, especially if you're tuning in inside of the Free Mama Movement Facebook group right now. One thing I'll tell you guys just from the get go, this is not a webinar. I have nothing. I literally have nothing to sell you. So this is an announcement. This is a coming out party of sorts. But like I said, I'm going to be teaching my new framework within it. A lot of you guys know my what we call origin story of how I started the Free Mama Movement. You know that I had a baby, and always I grew up with a stay-at-home mom. I thought that was a good mom. I was able to redefine those thoughts and stories that I had, which was great. And I actually realized I love working. But by the time Henry, my middle kiddo, was born, I was stretched super thin and realized that traditional employment, going to a job was no longer going to work for me. And a lot of you know that I tried a lot of things. I started freelancing, and it was when I had a miscarriage that I actually got the courage to walk in and quit my job 1 week later. Now, this picture, I was going through trying to find some pictures and some stories that maybe I haven't told, but this was actually 2 weeks after that. So I was looking at the timestamp on it. So 2 weeks after my miscarriage, I very, very impulsively bought tickets. If you guys can see what's on the truck there in front of the Sprint Center in downtown Kansas City, to the Taylor Swift concert. Now, that might not seem like a big deal to you, but at this point in my life, I still had a story attached to my identity that was very loud in my ears that told me that I was broke. I said it to myself for a very, very long time. And what's really interesting about telling yourself something like, I am broke, is that you'll be broke. I know, I didn't know back then. I wish I knew then what I knew now. But what comes after I am, that identity, those things, those stories we attach to ourselves, they are really important. And I had a story that I am broke, I can't afford it. This was like my internal narrative all the time. And Taylor Swift came to Kansas City 2 weeks after my miscarriage in 2015. And while we were on this courageous, impulsive roll, not only did I walk in and quit my job, but I also, the day of the concert, bought 2 floor level tickets for me. And that was my work wife from my 9 to 5 job, Emily, to go to the Taylor Swift concert. That was, again, it might sound kind of funny now, but you guys, that was insane for me at the time. Someone whose everyday narrative was, I'm broke, I can't afford it. There were no splurges. But I was looking back through my photos around this time of those first courageous steps that really started to shape this new identity of a freelancer. I just started freelancing. I was now newly self-employed. I was also a part of a very overwhelming statistic of moms who have miscarriages. And I was starting to push back against the system and starting to make shifts from how I had previously been living. And I think a lot of people feel this. Just yesterday, I posted on my personal Facebook, who is feeling a big, bold shift coming on? And the amount of people who said me was crazy. We're feeling it, right? We had this global pandemic. Everybody's earth got rocked in some sort of capacity. We're all restless now. A lot of us are fed up, which I'll tell you another story about later. And that's about where I was in 2015. I was ready to change. I was ready to do something different. But the first step in doing it was doing something wildly courageous, doing one small thing totally outside of my comfort zone. And it might seem silly, but going to that Taylor Swift concert for me was a really big deal, because not only was it me saying, you know what, I can figure out how to afford this, but it was also the first time that I was starting to reevaluate my worthiness on this planet and what I deserved to do. And it was my first step towards actually really living. And if you know me and you know the Free Mama movement, you know I say things like totally awesome and guilt-free life, and that'll come up here again. And this was kind of my first step towards doing that. So next, I've left my job. Again, this is we're seeding a framework, you guys. So go with me, write these things down. So it started with courage. What comes after courage? Well, you can do one courageous step for sure. And it will probably feel life-changing in the moment. For a lot of us, especially in the Free Mama community, that first courageous step might be telling someone about your business, or the first time that you go live. And what you're proving to yourself is that you won't die. that thing that you're terrified of, it might be real, but you are bigger and stronger than it is. But what happens next? And after evaluating my own story and again, talking to some other people, what happens next is we have to choose consistency. We have to take a look at our habits and our choices over time. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? Like if you decide that you want to change your body, you might get the courage to go to a gym. Maybe that's really intimidating for you, or maybe you're really out of practice with your physical health and you do a video at home or whatever the thing is. And that can be really significant and important for sure. But are you going to change your entire fitness or change your body with one courageous act? Of course not. It's the spark, but it's consistency that keeps the flame alive. So, a lot of you have heard me talk about, I know it's my go-to, but it really was the most transformative experience. How when I quit my job, I was able to do things that I felt like other moms were able to do, but as a working mom, it was really hard for me. This is a picture. You can tell that my kids are really young there. So Henry, gosh, who knows how old he is? Daphne looks, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. But this was on the train at the zoo, at the Kansas City Zoo. And I've told this story a lot of times of one of the biggest transformations for me of when I started freelancing and was able to quit my job is that I was able to take my kids somewhere and do anything I wanted, like during the week. And it sounds so small and insignificant, but I'm here to tell you that living in a totally awesome, guilt-free life, it's not the stuff we see on the internet. It's not the yachts and the planes. That's actually funny because I have a picture of a yacht later, but it's not those things that make you have an awesome life. It's the quality of your everyday life. And starting my freelancing business changed the quality of my everyday life. But it's not like I got one client or two clients and then my life looked different. It wasn't one courageous act of, of signing a high ticket social media management deal that changed my life for forever. It was the consistency behind it. It was the grit and resilience of having people tell me no and doing it anyway. It was the consistency of moving my family from Kansas City to Texas, losing all of my clients but one, starting over again from scratch and consistently showing up to rebuild it. Consistency, the reps, going to the gym over and over, continuing to show up and transform your habits so that even when you don't feel like doing something, you do it anyway. This is when we start to see real transformation happen in our lives. What's the result of that transformation? Chapter 3, we have an identity switch. We are able to literally show up and realize I don't tell myself I'm broke anymore. I'm not even that person anymore. I'm the person who goes to the Taylor Swift concert. Not one time, like that courageous, wildly outside of my comfort zone. I have literally taken on a new identity and expanded my comfort zone. Who's had this happen? Talk to me. You guys are silent. I can't tell if it's because you're scared of what I'm doing or because you're taking notes. Talk to me. Have you felt this? Have you had this shift happen in your life where it started from a place of such fear, but such longing, and you did that courageous thing, and then you showed up and you did it again and again, and you were consistent. And before you know it, you looked back at the person you used to be, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not even that same person anymore. There's an identity switch that happens. Now, for me, when this identity switch started to happen, is when I launched the Free Mama movement. I was able to go from this was about me. This was something I had started of changing my life, and I had to do the work. No one is coming to save you. I had to do the reps. I had to rebuild my business. I had to make sure I had the revenue coming in for my family so that I never had to go back to a job again. I had to do the scary things of finding information, putting myself out there, and taking messy action over and over and over again until that became part of my identity. Failure wasn't an option. Fear didn't control me. And around this time, I felt the calling, not just to do this for myself, but to take this identity and this information to help other people. And so again, a lot of you are probably tuning in from inside the Facebook group right now, or maybe you're joining us from YouTube. But who we are, who am I? For the last 5 years, I've taught moms how to leave their job to work from home and become my brand, The Free Mama, right? My vision is to help women live a totally awesome life. You guys know this. And my mission of The Free Mama was to ensure that no mother had to choose between family financial stability. I have lived this and breathed this every single day for over 5 years now. Oh man, it's not going to do my cool stuff. Is it doing cool stuff for you or is it static? I don't think my actions show up here. And it was supposed to be really cool and like flowy. Maybe it showed up for you. I don't think it did. Anyway, there's like, I don't know, 50 pictures of free mamas in this thing. And what's cool is this identity, this thing had a framework, much like the framework I'm teaching you to. Dang it, Sharon, don't you? You know what? We were doing so good. I still give us an A- on technology for today. I'm thrilled, but it would have been really cool. Trust me. There, just imagine there's like 50 more pictures of free mamas under the ones you can see. There have been thousands of students. I actually have some stats for you who have gone through this, who have taken on a new identity, who have raised their hand and said, I will be courageous. I choose to show up and be consistent. I am a free mama. Remember, I told it you at the beginning, what comes after I am will change the trajectory of your life if you let it. It will also hold you prisoner. It will challenge your sense of self-worth, your identity, your sense of self-trust, depending on what comes after those words. So within this area of identity, I've got some cool stats. Like I said, I have been running the Free Mama for, well, technically for over 7 years, but the Free Mama movement for 5. We've had over 7,100 students go through our programs. We have students in over a dozen countries. I'm going to do this wrong. I knew if I tried to be too cool, I would forget it. We have over a dozen countries on 6 continents, speaking 15 languages, our students. They have generated over $22 million in the last 5 years. Not me, you guys have done this, following these things, taking on this new identity, being courageous, being consistent, stepping into the next version of yourself. And those the 2 stats at the end, the 2 middle ones, that's just from a survey of 4% of our audience. So the actual reach of the Free Mama movement is so significantly broader than those $22 million. And this is you guys. This is you showing up and doing the work and following this framework. I've watched you. I've lived it myself. This is brand new. I've never like walked through this process before. I'm just extracting it from what I'm witnessing you do in your lives. Then, and a lot of you, especially a few of you tuning in today, a lot of you are here. Something happens when you take on this new identity. Raise your hand if you've felt this before. You have this transformation. Your habits change for the better. Your life improves. And you can't help but share it with other people. You can't help it. You feel called into it. The number of free mamas, I never anticipated this. The number of free mamas who came, saw, and conquered, and then immediately had to turn around and turn into a business coach and teach it to others. You can't not do it. It's on your heart. You will be called to lead. Maybe you monetize it in a business. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're a leader in your church because you've been transformed by your experience there. Maybe you help people at the gym who you see struggling because you remember what it was like to be new. This doesn't have to be a business. It's a process that we go through on the insides. You will feel called to lead. And for me, this even happened within the Free Mama movement where I got a little antsy. As I grew into my next identity through the development of the Free Mama movement and building a community and learning new things about business, I couldn't help myself either. I had to keep showing up for the next level of people. This is the yacht picture I was making fun of myself about. This was my inner circle from last year. We now have a program called Freedom Founders, but this is for the leaders. This is for the people who have that next calling on their heart. They have been brave. They stare down fear. They know that consistency is required and they will not have excuses about it. They know that their identity has shifted and they will continue to work on themselves because they can't help it. And now they have placed upon them a calling to lead others. And I had in the Free Mama a calling to lead the leaders. And it expanded my value ladder. It expanded the programs that we had. And I think it's such a natural progression. Like, isn't this making sense for those of you who've gone through this? And again, maybe it was in business, but maybe it wasn't. This is universal. This is not just a Free Mama experience. I can attribute this to so many things. In fact, this year I almost signed up for, except my family would have killed me. I never would have been home. Those of you who follow me know that yoga has really changed my life. And I went through this same experience where I had to have the courage to go and show up. And then I showed up consistently. And then I took on a new identity where, like, I don't just go to yoga, like, I'm a yogi. Y'all, I had a Free Mama yoga shirt made just for myself. This fall, they launched a certification program. And I felt called to do it. Now, it didn't work out with my schedule. Maybe I'll still do it, maybe not. But this is the same progression where it's like, it's changed my life. How do I lead others to this change? Because it has so impacted me. So this is the progression. Now, this would have been so much cooler if all my pictures didn't show up. All right, we're going to go with it. Thanks for your flexibility. That picture in the middle, which you can't really see because it was supposed to pop up by itself, that was me on stage last year in 2021, where I was asked to speak at Funnel Hacking Live. Now, it was really cool for me because what it really felt like was all of those steps, the courage where no one was watching, the consistency where no one was watching, the identity shift, which no one outside of me could feel. Finally, I was a leader. I had stepped into leadership and I felt like I was being seen and acknowledged for all that hard work. That is important because a lot of us, we want the recognition from step one, but a lot of us don't get it. It just doesn't work that way. Now, if you have a coach or an accountability group or friends, that's amazing. You should seek it out. But it wasn't until stage chapter, whatever, 4, that other people actually recognized what I was doing. And it made me feel so fulfilled of, like, all of that stuff. Not that for my ego, it was worth it, but that people noticed the impact that was happening because of this identity of the Free Mama that was spreading. But what's really interesting is around the same time I was asked to speak at Free Mama Live, I was also invited to a really exclusive opportunity with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. I was also on a magazine cover. No, I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you because that's the setup. Now take a look at the picture of me crying. That picture was taken within the same chunk of photos of all of that other stuff. Because at the same time that my business was going up and I was helping leaders impact others and my impact on the world was spreading. We all have this power to have ripple effects through our work. And I was finally getting noticed. But at the time that I was finally getting noticed, I was also dying inside. Because during this time, I was going through what was the beginning of what has been going on for now a year, things in my family that I didn't know how to handle, that I didn't know how to balance with business, that I didn't know how to talk about, which was really difficult for me because if you know me, my entire platform is built on transparency. And I felt trapped. So externally, I'm finally at, like, the highest of highs, but on the inside, I'm at the lowest of lows during this time. And the picture that you see on the other side of the screen was 1 week later. So I was at FHL, then I'm crying. That was around the time I had COVID. Then I'm in Boise, Idaho for a mastermind. I joined Russell Brunson's Inner Circle. And for me, that was like the cool kids club. Like, I was not in the cool kids club in high school. It was just kind of this total ego milestone of, like, I had earned a spot at the cool kids table. And I love and admire Russell tremendously. But at that event, my whole life changed. And do you guys know those moments where you can look back and you're like, oh man, that was a life-changing moment. What happened for me at that event is that I had a couple of conversations with women in the online space that I looked up to. I am not competitive with anybody but myself, but I love a good target. How many of you love a target? You love someone you can look up to and feel like you're chasing, not because you want to be them, you want to be you, but because you're like, that's the next thing. Well, I'm not a creative, so maybe that's why, but I need a target. I need something to chase, you know? And I had a conversation with the people that I was chasing. In my mind, I'm like, that's the next step. That's the queen bee. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm heading. That's what I want. Except the problem is, I had a conversation with them and realized that what they were marketing online was not actually what they were living in real life. And it was pivotal for me. In fact, it looked, now we're on. No, no. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull up my slides over here because it's not showing them all. Is it only showing one emoji? Why would you do this to me? Okay, everybody use your imagination. Are you guys ready? Okay, mad face emoji. It's red and its eyebrows are down and it looks like this. So yeah, somebody drop it in the chat for me so everybody knows what the mad face emoji looks like. I don't know why it's only showing one. Although what's interesting and maybe not ironic is that the one emoji on this page that it's showing is where we're going with this. Okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah, mad emoji. I was mad. I was mad. I was pissed, dare I say it. I was pissed because if you know me, you know that both in business and in my personal life, my number one value is integrity. And I define integrity, because you know I like to define words. I define integrity as who you are on the inside matching who you show up as on the inside. This is why the stuff with my family was so physically painful for me. I was physically in pain, not knowing how to talk about it. And I realized that this wasn't one of those situations. These women knew exactly what they were doing. They were selling a pipe dream and they had sold it to me. And so my next emoji is the single tear emoji. Someone drop me a single tear emoji, not the double cry. We're going there next. Single tear emoji. Once I got through my fit of rage, I felt genuine sorrow because I felt like the thing, gosh, I'm going to get emotional. I felt like the thing that I was pushing so hard for wasn't even real. I feel like someone had told me that Santa Claus wasn't real. And I felt so conflicted because I had been killing myself trying to keep being the leader, keep pushing, keep growing when I knew that my family needed me. And I was there for my family, but I had a capacity issue. Somebody say capacity issue if you feel what I'm saying. I was maxed out. I was burning out. I could feel it. I wasn't there, but I could feel it. So somebody give me the double cry emoji. Double hands up, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like two waterfalls coming from the eyeballs, two waterfalls. So I felt burnout coming. And I knew that I had to make changes. So a lot of you were here for this. Last December, I eliminated Inner Circle. I got rid of the podcast because I felt like I was on a sinking boat. Water was coming into it. And I had to throw, I was trying to get water overboard. I'm like, I'm sinking. I can feel it. I had a capacity issue inside my boat. And so I'm looking for what are the things that I can throw out before I drown. And then I'm no good to anybody. I can't serve the free mama movement. I can't show up for my daughter. Like I had a capacity issue. And I won't go into this whole story because I could talk for forever. But I hit a rock bottom when, if those of you remember Jen, when Jen left the free mama, and it was for totally family, personal reasons. Her family was getting relocated again, and she needed to be there for her kiddos. And I totally understood. And at the same time, at that point, I was so low. My boat was just about to go underwater that when Jen told me she was leaving, it was like someone dropped an extra anchor just to like make sure I was pulled down. And I made a lot of shifts in my life at that moment. I started going to therapy. I realized that if I was going to continue to show up for free mamas and continue to show up for my family, I needed someone who was going to show up for me. I again had cut back certain programs. I didn't show up on Facebook Lives for a while. I needed a minute. I took care of myself. I prioritized my own health, again, knowing that if I'm not here, I can't be good to anybody. So it's not worth breaking myself in the name of business or anything else. And so now somebody give me the muscle emoji. Give me the muscle emoji. So around this time, I would say probably around my second week processing in therapy. And again, we're fighting to get my kiddo the help she needs. My husband and I are trying to get back on the same page. I've loosened my workload slightly inside of my company. And then all of a sudden it was like, I saw the light. Somebody say, I saw the light. I saw the light. And the light was clarity around my values. The light was confirmation that I am not willing to sacrifice who I am, who I stand for in the name of anything. Nothing. That my values were so important to me that I will spend the rest of my life living them out, even if I am in the minority in this online space. Last month, my team came to Orlando after I was there for Funnel Hacking Live again. And we talked about this, and it is easy to get defeated. It is easy to get defeated. We heard and shared story after story of people online that other businesses are following, people, consumers are following, and they are being lied to. And every time I say that, I go through all these emojis again. I get pissed, and then I get sad, and then I get empowered, because it is the thing that will make me never stop, because I am not perfect. I am going to mess up. I am going to disappoint people. I guarantee it. But I will never lie to you, and I will never stop showing up, because it's who I am. And I challenge each of you to spend a few minutes thinking about, who are you? Remember, I am. What comes next is really powerful. So now we have the peace emoji. What's really interesting is that as soon as I got grounded and rock solid in all of those things, a couple of things happened. I started saying things to myself like, I have absolutely nothing to prove. I'm already successful. Isn't that fascinating? It sounds so simple. I had never said any of those things to myself before. I think in this entrepreneur game of trying to grow and wanting more, it's really easy to convince ourselves we've never arrived. But in that moment of knowing who I was, I wore my worthiness like skin, like you can't take it off me. I realized I have nothing to prove to anybody. I love to serve. Ask anyone on my team. I box them at least once a day saying, give everything away for free. I just want to serve. And they're like, maybe we should talk about this. I love it. I love it. I started sleeping. Oh, I could cry again. I started sleeping at night with no anxiety. Again, we're in the thick of it with my kiddo. I've got a lot of stuff. Like, my life is not perfect. But that angst, where do you guys feel it? I feel it in my chest. I can feel my heart beating fast, and my neck gets really tense. That's where I feel it. Where do you feel it when you are tense and you have that anxiety? I could feel it every night when I went to bed for probably my whole life, if I'm being honest with you. And all of a sudden, when I got grounded and rooted in who I am and my values and my sense of self-worth, I can sleep. You guys, I cut high ticket programs. I had to give a lot of money back to not get yelled at. It was scary. My old money story, Lauren from her 20s, who had the story that she was broke, she would have freaked out. She would not be sleeping well at night. But I have been blanketed in this overwhelming peace by knowing who I am, what my values are, what I stand for, and that I have absolutely nothing to prove. I am worthy. And I invite you, this is a process. Hopefully you heard that here today, but I invite you to try it on. And the last emoji was a cell phone. I'm so sad you can't see all my emojis. In fact, I'm going to do this real fast because they're so good. Can you guys see them? Okay, there's the list of emojis. That's what it was supposed to look like, but that's okay. We love imperfections here. Thank you, Sam. Cell phone. The cell phone stands for the call. I had a calling on my heart to start the Free Mama movement. And after the last 8 years, truly 5 years of the Free Mama movement, I have been feeling this calling on my heart. And it's like back to the beginning. It's like hero's journey that I taught you guys a few weeks ago on a live. It's like we start again. And so it starts with, oh, I'm like moving my, I'm moving my presentation on my computer instead of for you guys. And so I had this calling and it started with courage. Calling, I don't know about for you guys, but for me, callings aren't delivered with like all the text. It's just the phone ringing. It's not like someone calls and they're like, you're going to go do this and it's going to look like this and you should say that. It's not that clear for me. Maybe I'll get a sentence at best. And here's the sentence that actually stood out for me. But this was actually, I took those first few courageous steps. And one of them, part of that calling was you need to use your voice more. I was feeling I need to use my voice more. And so I was thinking, who do I know who's really great at using her voice and teaching people how to use their voice? And I thought of my friend McCall Jones, who a lot of you know. And on one of those conversations with McCall, she just took a couple phone calls with me. She could tell I was in like the messy middle, just trying to work some stuff out. And so she's trying to ask me some really prompting questions to help gain some clarity. And I think it was our second conversation. She said, and this is, here's your trigger alert. If you are feeling sensitive this morning, you've been warned. She asked me, I look blurry. Sorry. I think it's because I'm little. It's okay. Can you guys hear me? As long as you can hear me, you'll get the point. I promise. On the second call with McCall, she asked me a prompting question. And she said, if I were to hand you a microphone and it was your last chance to say whatever it is that you have to say, what would that be? Now, I'm not going to remember verbatim what I said, but it went something like this. I said, you're going to die someday. And when that day comes, I want you to look back on your life and feel proud of everything you pursued because you left 0 regrets on the table. And not just that, but in your pursuit of living your actual best life, you didn't sacrifice any of your values in the process. And it was like, whoa. I was just like, wow. And what's really interesting, well, I won't go down this whole story. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger because I realize I'm already way over half an hour and I still got more to go. So that was a really pivotal moment for me. That was a moment of I have more to say and I need to start gathering my thoughts about what that's really going to look like. And so that brings me to chapter 5, which is legacy. What's that thing that you forever want to be known for? What is that impact that you want to have on the world? What do you want people to say about you at your funeral? What would you say if you had one last opportunity to hold a microphone and speak your piece? So here we are. Welcome to Lauren Golden. I have a revised mission and vision that I'm sharing with you guys well, actually, you'll see it's not a revised mission. Here's where we're going. Here's where we're heading. So who we are. I show women how to take consistent, courageous action so they can make big, bold shifts towards living a totally awesome life. Hopefully you guys are seeing some consistency here. We've evolved, but we haven't changed. My vision has not changed at all. My vision has always been to help women live a totally awesome life. That has not transformed, but you'll see there's a little evolution here within the mission to transform self-doubt into self-trust through grit, courage, and unconditional love. and I have a new target in mind because we love goals, is to help 1 million women take one single step of courageous action. So, probably some questions. Don't start reading in a perfect world with slides. They would have only showed up one at a time. So, I had your focus. But what does this mean? It means that we are so stinking proud of all the work that we've done. For the last 5 years, my team and I have committed all of our time and energy into teaching moms specifically how to live a totally awesome life through starting an online business. I'm being called to serve more people at a deeper level of transformation that helps women feel better about themselves and empowered to take control of every aspect of their lives, including but not limited to business. And this looks like for me doing more speaking, more writing, and having a huge focus on developing outstanding content that reaches and impacts more people. So, what can you expect? You can expect the same transparency and personal connection that you're used to. I will continue to share openly, offer tough love, bring in people who can help you live your best life and care about you so much that it literally hurts me sometimes. I will create for you a model for taking calculated risks to step outside of your comfort zone and a proven path to living in alignment so you can become the healthiest, happiest, and most free version of yourself. I didn't talk about that much in my presentation today, but if you read my email that I sent, I think maybe it went out this morning, I talked about this evolution of freedom, and it's really fascinating. You know, I started the Free Mama as me. I was the mama. There was no movement. It was about me. I'll just be honest, okay? And freedom looked like not having a boss. It looked like going to the zoo with my kids on a Wednesday. That was freedom. But as it evolved, it became a movement. And freedom for me, again, and for many of you, it looked like location freedom. I was able to move twice because of my online business. I've been able to spend multiple summers traveling with my family because of an online business. And so that freedom evolved. But the ultimate freedom, you guys, is freedom of self expression. It is freedom of not giving any ifs about what other people think about you and knowing exactly who you are. So it's that is the most free version of yourself. Now you might be wondering, what about the Free Mama movement? All Free Mamas still have access to all your stuff, you guys. We're going to continue to offer the program. The Free Mama movement lives on. Free Mama Live is still happening April 20th through 22nd. And gosh, about a third, we're like maybe even closer to halfway sold out. But you'll get even more than you were expecting as I continue to evolve. So you'll get support with your business and your life. And we are taking a brief pause. Maybe you even noticed yesterday from Free Mama TV. We are rebranding that channel. So you'll expect some new content, fresh, exciting format coming soon. Probably not until January, but we'll see what we can do there. What if I still need your help? No problem. Just post in the Facebook group. We're still here. Nobody is being left behind. We're excited to continue to nurture our business leaders mastermind. So again, I told you that had its own evolution. Started as Movement Maker Accelerator, Inner Circle. Our current program that we are just in love with is called Freedom Founder Society. This is for women with established businesses to create big, bold shifts within their industry without compromising the life they're designing for themselves. We have a few of those people on with us today. And then keep an eye out for new opportunities as we continue to gain clarity, and for you to be able to find your free with me by subscribing at laurengolden.com. I have been told you must type in www because sometimes the internet is finicky. And maybe Sam, since she's here, can drop a link for you guys over on the Facebook group. Final disclaimer for you guys. It all starts with your first courageous step. Everything that you are trying to do, every big, bold shift you want in your life, we don't start with a big, bold shift. We start with a first courageous step. This is my first courageous step towards stepping into the next version of Lauren Golden. And so here's my disclaimer for you, because I know I'm going to have questions. Big, bold shifts take time. And when it comes to building your legacy, I do not subscribe to rushing the process. So at this time, the reality is there may still be a few open loops hanging open, but this announcement is my first courageous step into becoming the next version of myself. I'm so grateful for your confidence and support. And I want you to know that, as always, I am committed to you and helping you live your totally awesome life. I think we have a little, doesn't that look pretty? check her out. So that's that's the website. If you go to www.laurengolden.com, that is where we are heading. I'm going to remove this from here. Yay, we did it. And it mostly cooperated. That technology, it would have been really cool if the slides participated, but it's all right. We did good. The stream worked. That's all we can ever ask for. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being a part of my life. It's really interesting after having so many students and doing this for so long. I get lots of shout outs online. I get lots of people telling me thank you for changing their lives. And I almost always have the same response, which is you changed your life, but thank you for letting me be a part of it. So that is how I will end today as well. I would never have had these identity shifts, these transformations, my leadership abilities, or being able to begin what I hope to be my legacy without all of you. It's not something that could happen without you guys and the impact that you have made on my life. So I guess what I'm trying to say is what goes around comes around, and not in a negative way, in a positive way. Keep showing up for yourself, keep showing up here and loving on each other, and you will continue to go through that framework and continue to grow into the freest version of yourself as well. So I'm going to wrap it up since I went 15 minutes over, but thank you guys for being a part of this. I will just say, if you go to the website and you subscribe, we're just putting you in a little holding bowl. So you're not going to start getting like a bunch of emails or anything like that. Again, one courageous step at a time. But if you want to be included as that does start happening in the near future, you can go ahead and subscribe to that Lauren Golden list, and we'd love to have you over there. So, all right, you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I will leave you with a challenge to go take one courageous step today towards becoming the person that you want to be. I love you all dearly. Thank you for hanging out with me this Wednesday, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.